Okay, then. So that was something else. Minnesota managed to win this game 26-20 in a overtime finish over the New Orleans Saints. Didn't really expect that. Breeze, he was 26 of 33 for 208 yards, 6.3 average, 1 touch, 1 pick, sacked 3 times and lost 31 yards on that. 90.4 quarterback rating. Taysom Hill threw the one ball for 50 yards. And yeah, Taysom Hill also led them in rushing yards. He had 4 carries for 50 yards and a 12.5 average yards per carry with the longest run of 28. Kamara, 7 for 21, had a long of 5, which I believe was also the one score he had there. Latavius Murray, 5 for 21, 4.2 average. Drew Brees did carry it once for 5 yards. In total, 17 carries for 97 yards and a 5.7 average. And obviously the one score. Receiving, Michael Thomas led them. Not that that's necessarily shocking. What I do think is the shocking part is the amount of yards, or lack thereof, I guess, in some ways. 7 of 8 targets for 70 yards, didn't score. Jared Cook, 5 for 5 for 54. Deontay Harris, 1 for 1 for 50. He caught the Taysom Hill ball. And also, really good special teams day for him. Alvin Kamara caught 8 of 9 targets for 34 yards. Taysom Hill, 2 for 2 for 25 and the 1 touchdown from Drew Brees. Then you have Ted Ginn, 1 of 2 for 18. Latavius, 1 of 2 for 4. Josh Hill, 2 of 3 for 3. And Traquan Smith didn't catch his lone target, which was, I believe, the Sendejo pass deflection play. So they were 4 of 11 third down. That's 36%. 1 of 2 in the red zone, so obviously 50. -1 in the turnover margin. 6 penalties for 52 yards. And 27 minutes and 24 seconds of time of possession. Now Minnesota, Cousins, 19 of 31 for 242, 7.8 average, and a touchdown. With that, he was sacked twice for 10 yards and a 96.4 rating. Now Minnesota will get tacked on with allowing 3 sacks, because that's how that one Diggs play where he kind of threatened to throw a little bit. That gets credited as a sack, apparently. Carrying Dalvin Cook, 28 carries for 94 yards, 3.4 average yards per attempt, and 2 scores. Madison, 5 for 20. Abdullah, 1 for 9. Diggs, 2 for 8. Thielen, 1 for 3. Ham, 1 for 3. Cousins, 2 for -1. So in total, 40 carries for 136 yards, 3.4 average yards per carry. The 2 scores by Cook, and the longest run of the day by them was 22 yards, also by Dalvin Cook. Receiving, Thielen, kind of had a rough start, but then he looked like Thielen. 7 of 9 for 129, 18.4 average with that long of 43. Cook, 3 for 5 for 36. Rudolph, 4 for 7 for 31, but caught the 1 touchdown. Diggs, 2 for 3 for 19. Olabisi, 2 for 3 for 17. Madison, 1 for 2 for 10. Conklin, 0 for 1. And Hollins also 0 for 1, which that could have been a better throw by Kirk on the Hollins one. So they were 10 of 18 on third down. That's 55%. 3 of 4 in the red zone, so 75%, plus 1 in the turnover margin. 4 penalties for 26 yards, and held the ball for 36 minutes and 56 seconds. And now we get into thoughts of this. Kirk, good. Very good. People have kind of been waiting on that since he became a starter about 5-6 years ago, whatever it is. And there was always like this question, is he even capable of winning the big game? Well, at least we know he is physically capable of doing it. Now, can he string them together consistently? Who knows? But he is actually capable of doing it, that's a good sign of things to come. And kind of before that drive began, you kind of think like, oh, well, here we go. This is why we signed you, right? This is what the difference was. And you kind of thought, maybe he doesn't necessarily need to make the winning play. He just needs to make the not lose the game plays. And he made the 2 winning plays with the 43-yard bomb and the touchdown, obviously. And don't forget about that 3rd down conversion to Diggs off of that play fake where they had Rudolph in the backfield. That was also another one that kind of, kept it going to get the 43-yard bomb. And the run game was really good for at least the first half. It definitely died off in the second half. Don't know what the deal with Dalvin Cook was. There were times where he wasn't in the game where I feel like he should have been in the game. And there were other times where you kind of thought maybe Madison should be getting the ball more, or at least be in more. And other times kind of in between the 20s, but when you get into the red zone, I kind of want Dalvin Cook to be there. Just a better red zone back to me. And there was a lack of down-the-field throws, but I think both teams kind of took more of a defensive stance on this. And that was kind of the why. They won the time of possession battle by nearly 10 minutes, which is amazing. That was one of my things, was like, you need nearly 40 minutes of time of possession, I think. And they got 36-56, so nearly 40. And yeah, defensively, Sendejo was the nickel corner this game. I was curious to see who they would line up there, given the fact that their normal nickel in Mackenzie Alexander was out, and they just put Mike Hughes on IR, who was their backup nickel, and just the corners in general, because that's kind of how they fixed some of the corner problems, because they were rotating corners, mainly Mike Hughes and Rhodes on the outside, and it worked out pretty well. Obviously, it helped that there was a great effort up front, where Breeze had a lot of duress throughout the day. They finally moved Griffin inside, which I've been advocating for a while now. And because, guards can't hang with him on a consistent play-by-play basis. So the fact that they were capable of doing that for once was really nice to see him and Hunter line up right next to each other. Taysom Hill was a problem. That was a problem. So was some of the power running that they did with Latavius Murray, which I don't think is anything new. When we see teams trying to just power it down Minnesota's throat, they can do that. But if you see more of these east-west zone running kind of things, they handle that a little better. And I think it's because the linebackers can flow when they're athletic, where, you get a lineman on them and just run straight downhill. That's where we're going to struggle because they can't get off the blocks as easy. So, yeah, that's still a problem. Turnovers, good job. And you turned over a team twice that doesn't turn the ball over, with obviously Harris on the deep ball and Hunter with a strip sack just kind of causing it. And that's really good because obviously turnovers. But in general, they are capable of doing 2 things on defense to a team that doesn't really do a lot of that, which is turn the football over and allow pressure to their quarterback, because partially with the quarterback one is Breeze is very good at getting the ball out in about a nanosecond. So the fact that they were capable of getting there and making him hold the ball for a split second later, obviously crucial. And I feel like you should give a lot of credit to Zimmer for that, just because of how he pieced this defense together today, where, like I said, you're out 2 of your corners, and you have an explosive offense that ranked 3rd in the league in points per game. So good luck on the road in the playoffs with that. And he held them to 20 and was able to do this. Rhodes did have one bad play. Deontay Harris on the double move on the Taysom Hill 50-yard bomb play. And outside of that, I felt like he actually played really well. They held Thomas and Kamara to 125 total yards on 22 combined touches, which is insane that you would think that would almost be the stat line for one of them, but it is both, which is impressive. And overall, I do know people will talk about Kirk, and that's probably well-deserved, because he's taken a lot of flack for not being able to win these games, and all of a sudden, He made the clutch play in the clutch moment of the thing, Everyone's been like, hey, you kind of can't do this, can you, buddy? And then he went ahead and did it. So it's well-deserved, but I don't want to leave the defense out of this. I don't want that to be undervalued here. Like, the value of Zimmer was shown today. There was a top 3 scoring offense today that they held in check without their arguably their best 2 corners, and they held them to 20 points on the road in the playoffs, and that's something that I feel like can't be understated. And one of the reasons why they had a chance to win this game, because Minnesota didn't have a lot of penalty yardage, but those penalties that they had, those 4 penalties, they were kind of drive-killing penalties for the most part. And if they didn't hold New Orleans, they were kind of screwed here. And it did just that. And another thing, say whatever you will about the game, but these playoff games between these 2 teams tend to be very entertaining and something else. And as just a pure football fan, it's a good thing to watch, I think. It's usually a pretty good product that gets thrown out there. I would like to know your comments down below. Liking and subscribing always helps. And until next time, I bid y'all adieu.